Hey guys, Benji here doing question of the day. Latest one here is what were memorable vacations from your childhood? So I would say, I mean, as I think back, I think the biggest vacation, but I don't really remember it. So this is probably a good reminder to Sierra and Ella with your kids, is that we went to Disney World with the Hovises. Is all I can remember. It might have been Keith and Marianne too. So with my cousins and aunts and uncles and everything, I think I was 5 or 6, and Josh must have been like 3. So Kevin must have been like 7, maybe 8, something like that. I don't really remember a single thing from it. Being 6 o'clock, being 6 years old, not 6 o'clock, but I don't remember anything from it. So it goes to show you, wait until they're 7, 8, 9, 10. Actually, I think even older. Go when they're 11, 12, and 8, and those ages. They'll remember it. So that one had to be the most expensive. I remember the drive there. We drove there in the Datsun 210, which is the tiniest little car. So, but Josh and I were teeny tiny, so we fit in the back. It was probably no big deal. But I remember Dad had to get out and like stretch his legs as we were driving, and I remember him, just kind of thinking, oh man, it's a long drive because it's got to be 25 hours in a compact sedan. So that had to be bad, but I can remember him getting out of the car a lot just to stretch. And then, but to answer the question, what were memorable vacations? To me, it was any time we went somewhere with the family. I kind of just remember those kind of vacations. Maybe that was the only kind of vacations we took. I don't remember like me, Josh, mom, and dad going on vacation very often, like by ourselves. I remember it was typically with family members, grandma, grandpa, aunts and uncles, cousins, that whole thing. And it was typically in Missouri. We typically went to the Ozarks and Branson, or I remember one time we went to like, I don't even remember what it was, but it was like Arkansas ish. And there were a lot of like springs around. Like the water was like seriously cold. Like it was the heart of summer in July, and the water was like 52 degrees or whatever. I mean, you could drink it, and it was pure natural spring water, and it was freezing cold. It was great. But I remember doing those kind of things. But I remember those were my most memorable ones because I liked, somebody always had a boat, and you're near the lake, so you're getting on the lake and you're learning to ski and you're kneeboarding and you're fishing and you're just doing all sorts of outdoor fun stuff, and you're doing it with your cousin. Every time we had got to go somewhere and Kevin and Dave were there and me and Josh, it sure made it fun, right? Because you had a group of 4 kids to go play around, whether that's playing basketball or playing hot box or just playing catch, doing anything. And then you get some of the dads involved because, I mean, let's say I'm 12 and we're doing this, um, you know, that means dad is like 35, so he's still young, right? I mean, him and people would get out and ski. It wasn't like they were old, right? Because they had kids so young. Everybody did, I think, back then. And is that all the dads would get out and ski and kneeboard, and some of the dads that were you know skied a lot and had their own boats, they would be barefoot skiing, and so everybody was just kind of doing a whole lot, and then you're grilling out, and wives were doing lots of cooking and making side dishes, and it just seemed like a lot of fun all the time. So I never think back and think, man, I wish, why didn't we ever go to Europe, or why didn't we go to California, or Florida? Or I don't think I ever thought that. I don't ever think about that and think, boy, I really missed out on cool vacations like that. I mostly think, yeah, those were great going to the lake. We would go to Windermere all the time. We went to, what was that one place? Bunker Hill. And I remember we were like rafting down a creek. And I remember thinking that was super fun. Um, yeah, we just kind of did a lot of stuff in Missouri where you were rafting or skiing or swimming in the lake or doing that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was great. And it was fun. So those are my most memorable. So it probably has less to do with like where we went and did stuff, but like that lots of people were around that we knew. I just don't remember, and maybe mom and dad would have memory of that, or Josh does, of like us going on a vacation, like just the four of us. But man, not really. I think I just really remember always going with family and friends. And I feel like we didn't really go on vacation a ton. I don't know. I feel like now that I say that, maybe when we went to the lake like every single year. I don't know. I mean, we didn't stay in anything nice, right? We would stay in the, you don't even call them cabins, like, they were like cinder block cabins. It was like a fourplex of them, and they were concrete floors, and I remember thinking they were great, right? Because they were right by the water, so you were always there. You could go swimming in the lake, and they had diving boards at Windermere, and so you could do that. So, yeah, I just remember it being awesome, really. So it's not as much about do you go and do these crazy things, especially when your kids are young. Now, maybe it would have been cooler to, as a young adult that's 19, 23, 26, to go on some maybe neater vacations. And that's where we started to do that as a family, right? We started going to, bigger trips with our whole family, just the Lewises, just Josh, Katie, Kit, me, and all our kids, and mom and dad. We go to the Blue Mountains and go to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and those kind of trips that are bigger and better and more fun, and you're trying out new things. So those were great, but we didn't do that as a kid. This question says childhood, and so that wasn't those. Those were in my adult life, really, especially being the oldest sibling. Maybe Katie would think of that as being younger because she's, I don't know, 12 years, 13 years younger than me, something like that. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I remember. So those were my childhood memories of vacations, and I just remember loving them all the time. So, yeah, it's great. So that's the end. See you next time.